Quality of life. It means many different things to different people. Have you ever thought of what it means to you? A job you enjoy, perhaps. Friends. Family. Independence. Security. Activities you enjoy. We all have different ideas of what quality of life means to us.
Quality of life is you try and do the best that you can.
Quality of life is also about my family, friends, and the people around me.
Nobody's pushing me except me for who I am.
Hockey, playing hockey.
Quality of life is a very individual thing. It's something we all want. So how do you go about making it happen? Well, there's no magic formula, but there are steps you can take to make sure that your quality of life is the best that it can be. And there are people, organizations, and policies to help you. We will be looking at how this works. The Ontario Federation for Cerebral Palsy, or OFCP, has established 5 different areas that it is working on to help people with disabilities achieve the quality of life they deserve. The first area is accreditation. You might wonder what that means and what it has to do with quality of life. Well, it's kind of like a rating or evaluation system designed for organizations that offer services to people with disabilities. You wouldn't eat at a restaurant that had a bad rating because it failed its health inspection. No, you'd probably choose to eat at a clean restaurant with a good rating. Well, it's the same thing with places that provide services for people with disabilities. You would probably choose to live in a place with a good rating. So how do you know if a place has a good rating? Well, this is where Accreditation Ontario comes in. It's a provincial non-profit organization sponsored by the OFCP and the Ontario Association for Community Living. Its reviewers meet with people receiving services to determine the quality of those services and whether the individual's needs and goals are being met.
So, hi Tracy.
Hi.
I'm Maureen.
Hi.
Hi. And I think someone probably told you that I came today to talk to you about how things are going for you, whether things are good in your life or things that need to happen in your life. So I thought we could just sit and chat for a while. Is that all right with you?
Yeah.
What we're really looking for is who you are, what control you have in your life, who you want in your life, and the rights that are important to you, your health, those sort of global areas of things that are important to people.
So how does Maureen find out what is important to the individuals she interviews? Well, what she does is look at what people want for themselves, their goals, how they live, and what is important to them.
Are you pleased with the way things are going? Are there changes you would like to see happening? Is someone helping you to work towards those changes?
So she'll ask questions about ordinary, everyday things like work, housing, friends, community life, health and well-being, quality of services, and so on. These are called personal outcome measures. It's kind of a technical term, but all it means is that it's a method for evaluating or rating your quality of life. In other words, are you happy with the way you live? Are you achieving the outcomes, a job you like, friends, good health, a good place to live, respect, that give you the quality of life you expect?
Do people here that work here, do they talk to you about how you feel about services that you get here? Do they ask you if you're happy with them? Do they? Do they do that on a fairly regular basis?
Sometimes.
Sometimes?
Once Maureen has spent several hours with Tracy and some of the other residents in the group home, she will then meet with their families and staff members and other people who know them well. She needs to get as complete a picture as possible so she can give accurate feedback to the management as to how they're doing in the eyes of the residents. The focus is on the outcomes, or results, that residents can expect from the services they receive. It's about responsiveness to people, not about policies and procedures.
Once the meetings are over, all the information is gathered, and that information is provided back to the organization in the form of a report.
Accreditation is based on the organization's success in helping its residents achieve their goals. There's no obligation for an organization to take part in this process, so you might ask, what's in it for them? Well, because it's better to be known as an organization that provides good service as opposed to one that doesn't. Because people will choose a good place over one that is not so good if they can.
Particularly today, when you're looking at customer satisfaction being something really, really important in all aspects of service delivery. It's the same with when your service is for individuals, for people. You want that to be a good service. So accreditation is saying this is how you might help to make your service better in areas, or this is where you are doing really well. So, and that's important to an organization.
We've just seen that accreditation is a process that helps people with disabilities attain quality services. But what if you've never thought about what quality of life means to you? If you don't think about it, you can't make it happen because you won't know where to start. It's up to you to take responsibility for your life, to make choices about what is important to you, to set goals, and to strive for the kind of life that makes you happy. And that brings us to the second area where the OFCP can help people with disabilities achieve the quality of life they deserve, and that is planning. If you want to make things happen, you have to plan. Life is full of planning, whether it's the groceries for a dinner party, your day at work, the courses you would like to take, or who you want to spend time with. You plan small things, like what you would like to have for lunch today, and big things like your retirement. Planning is an ongoing thing. It's a lifelong activity, and the OFCP is there to provide assistance with all kinds of planning, from short-term planning to long-term planning. It's about planning for you as an individual, so it's called individualized planning.
Good morning, Kathy Person speaking.
Kathy Persons helps people with short-term planning. It's her job to provide information to people with immediate needs, usually parents of a young child with cerebral palsy who want to know where to get funding or find out what kind of support services are available.
So you're looking for a psychologist who not only deals with teen issues, but who is very familiar with physical disabilities. They very often know what they need before they call me. They don't know how to go about finding it, or even if it's available. They don't know if other families are going through the same issues. And we talk about what they need, or maybe what might be helpful, and I could make suggestions. But they would need it now, immediately. It wouldn't be for 10 years from now, because a toddler needs therapy now. They need speech and language now. So anything that I find will be put into use right away. We plan together what services they're looking for, what needs their child has. It's all very individual.
Gordana Skirbo, on the other hand, tackles long-term planning.
As we discussed last time, you stated a couple of your goals, but I would like to see how you're doing these days.
This is one of many meetings Gordana has had with Anne to get to know her and to assist her with her long-term planning, her goals for the near future, and further down the road.
Where do you see yourself living in the future, Anne?
Anne communicates with a word board and a computer.
This box? In the beaches area? So what drives you there? Why did you pick beaches area? Is it because your mom lives there? So would you like to be close to your mom?
To say yes, Anne looks up and to the right. To say no, she looks down.
Do you see yourself living by yourself? Sharing an apartment with other people?
Anne indicates she would like to share a condo with her friend Carrie.
Yes.
But there's still some major details to be sorted out.
Did you talk to Carrie about this? No. Are you going to talk to Carrie about your idea?
Anne's goal will be approached a step at a time. But this isn't her only goal.
Is it about the music? Do you mean that you would like to run a music group? What kind of help you would need? Do you need more people? Do you need space for music group? So do you have already someone who's willing to support you with your idea?
The next step is to help Anne make these goals happen. The most immediate is the music group. Gordana has a plan of action. She will put together a support team to strategize on how the OFCP can assist Anne to attain her goals.
I had an interview with Anne Running this morning. She came up with a beautiful idea. So she said she would like to run a music group for people with disabilities, and she would like to help them learn about the music. So she would need some help to realize the goal. Actually, she's looking for 7 volunteers who would be able to assist people with getting onto bus, getting off the bus, basically with the personal care during the music session. So she thought maybe a couple of hours a week.
Would she like any of us to volunteer or talk?
Oh, she would more than welcome any of us who would be able to donate a couple of hours.
Do you know if they need any modifications made to the instruments so that they're accessible to everyone?
I will check that with Anne. I think he will meet with a music therapist in a couple of weeks.
One of the parents that I talked to, the mother, she's involved with a music group at her child's school.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
she might be able to let me know how she started that and keeps it running, and I could give her a call and see if maybe she'd like to offer some time. Is that
Great.
cool? Okay.
Great. Could you give her a call early next week, please, so I could
This
get
afternoon.
the call back? You'll call her this afternoon. Oh, wonderful.
The group continues to brainstorm. Ideas flow back and forth. Timelines are set. Then Gordana taps into her own resources. There's the internet, there are letters to write, and there's personal networking.
Oh, I'm calling on behalf of a young lady who's looking for some volunteers.
Before long, things begin to happen. Anne had a dream. This led to a goal. With help in the planning process, the goal became a reality, and it can happen to you. But you need to take action. You can change your life, but the direction has to come from you.
So if you ask me what the planning process is all about, I would say assisting people getting lives they want, assisting people getting quality of life they desire, helping people achieving quality of life they want. It's making people happy.
For people who live in a group setting, there's another kind of planning that's a little more structured. And again, it's all about helping people achieve the quality of life they desire. It's called the Individual Service Plan.
Do you have any ideas as far as what kind of job you would like to have?
Hopefully something simple. Simple guy.
Mark Campbell is meeting with a number of people in the group home where he lives. There's Millie Elaney, his primary care worker, Ruth Eby, the group home manager, and the administrator, Ann Paul. This is the 6-month review of his individual service plan. It's a plan drawn up on paper and designed specifically for a particular individual living in accommodation funded by the provincial government. The plan must be reviewed and updated every year.
And going to Seneca and your communication program, do you think that's helping you toward your goal?
Yeah.
Well, the purpose is to give the person, the client, an opportunity to talk about him or herself, to reveal perhaps some of their innermost feelings, wishes, dreams, and this gives us hints as to what we should be working toward. You know, rather than creating a program, for instance, that may completely be on the other side, that may not deal with what that particular person really, really wants.
When I met Mark 8 years ago, Mark came from an institution where they weren't given any choices.
Millie recalls her impression of Mark back then.
Very reserved, very shy, because he wasn't given that choice to speak, not to direct himself.
A couple years ago, I didn't know what I was all about. I was always mama boy.
And now?
So now is a different Mark, where he has the choice, and he makes sure he's using it. So you see a very happy guy. He's more outspoken. He can tell you what he wants without fear.
He's become, as he says, his own man.
The goals that Mark chooses now, where he want to work, where he want to live, to school, that is his choice. He work around that, and he accomplish what he wants.
It started with small steps and Millie's help. Mark used to wait on hold with the Wheel-Trans bookings for Millie when she was busy, then call her when the dispatcher came on.
And I see he did that very well. And I said, Mark, I think you can do better. And so I started to teach him the numbers and what to say, and he did it. So from that on, once we're busy, we just ask Mark to get Wheel-Trans, and he do it.
I would like to make a booking to go down.
Mark loves to be around people, and he had a dream. So with Millie's help, they devised a plan.
And he told me he wanted to get a job. Firstly, he would like to volunteer, because if he didn't have the experience, he wouldn't be able to work. I approached the personnel of the store, and I sold Mark to her. And Mark did the interview, and they were just delightful. They couldn't believe that Mark could express himself so well.
Good morning. welcome to Walmart. I would like to put a stick on your bag. I just said I wanted to get my foot in the door.
Yes, you did. And that blew Diana away.
And there are classes at Seneca College every day.
There's no goal that Mark asks that is too difficult. Because I always said, Mark, we have to try. We have to try. Take, for instance, he told me that he wants to go on a vacation. You look, Mark is in a wheelchair. He's a big guy. And I said, Mark, I'm going to try.
So Millie searched the internet and made some calls.
Yes, this brochure had clearly explained that they support you with assistance.
Mark is not going alone. There's the 24-hour attendant, of course. But he also plans to take his girlfriend, a young lady who lives across the city in another group home. It will take some logistical work, but there are people to help.
When I work with Mark and see what he has accomplished, it gives me great joy. It's so different, and I can see so much outcome.
It's not just being able to express my wishes, but to see them come true, it's a wonderful feeling.
I feel that too, Mark, because I can see the expression over your face, and I'm very proud.
It makes you feel so touched. Hear you say that.
No, you keep that beautiful smile. You're doing fantastic.
New directions, new ways of thinking, new ways of doing things. All these are changing the quality of life for people with disabilities. But innovative approaches sometimes take some time to catch on. And that is the case when it comes to new ways of allocating funds. In most cases, government still prefers to allocate funds to established service-providing agencies rather than directly to individuals. But many people would like to see this changed. In 1993, Stan Waronko was receiving the maximum amount of $10,000 a year through a program called Special Services at Home for the care of his daughter, Catherine. But it wasn't enough because she needs someone with her full-time. When he tried to get additional funding for a full-time attendant, he ran into a brick wall.
When Catherine finished school, we tried to have her days filled, and so we hired people even if we didn't have the funding necessary. So we had to pay out of our own pocket. And my wife got cancer, breast cancer, and so the situation was getting tougher and tougher. And I realized this is crazy. It's not sustainable. We can't finance this by borrowing. Catherine needs a life, and we have to get appropriate funding.
Stan had remortgaged his house to finance Catherine's care. He also applied for funding and went through several levels of appeal. They offered him an extra $1,000 a year, which they said would not be renewable for the next year.
And what I did is I just called the minister's office, and I really gave them hell. I really was upset when I got that negative answer.
He was told there were services available in the community for Catherine, so he challenged the people in the minister's office to help him find them. They couldn't. Eventually, through perseverance and determination, he won his battle to get funding for his daughter. It took 10 months and a lot of strategy.
And I had my list of criteria of, that's important. You have to know what it is you're aiming at. The criteria focused on her being out in the community and doing things, not being in a room somewhere all day.
Catherine still lives at home. Her mother died in 1994. Letty Cortez has been her full-time caregiver for 5 years. She's hired directly by Stan. The funding that enables him to do this is the funding he fought so hard for. It's called individualized funding because it's tailored to the individual. It's a new concept that many people in the disability field are beginning to lobby for.
Individualized funding is really a way that an individual can develop a plan and apply for funding which they get directly. So it's much more individualized, it's much more personal. They then have control over that money in terms of if they need to hire people to help them, if they need attendance in the morning, or if they need help with literacy skills or budgeting or whatever, they have a chance to hire the people that they want in their life.
When I'm gone, the Circle has to maintain the advocacy part.
The Circle is a group of 6 to 10 people, friends and supporters who meet about 4 times a year to strategize and plan for Catherine.
She can't speak up for herself. So building a base of friends that are really close and true and loyal that will carry on.
The circle today is discussing the type of housing that will be appropriate for Catherine in the near future. Stan is beginning to plan for the next stage of her life.
Is it your sense that you're going to have a flow-through organization to be able to get that funding?
Yes, the ministry insists on doing it that way. The funding may go through an intermediate agency, but the family controls how the funding is spent, who is hired. The family becomes the employer. So it's a self-directed kind of approach.
Dave has drawn up a picture to illustrate Catherine's plan. They need to obtain funding and find a place for Catherine to live, ideally somewhere closer to where Letty lives in Ajax. A compatible roommate must be found, someone whose family is supportive of this kind of arrangement, and support workers that are trustworthy are needed. Then the Ministry of Community and Social Services must be lobbied for individualized funding for this arrangement. A qualified agency to administer the funds must be found, and control and decision-making must remain with Catherine and her circle.
What we've just been talking about is, let's begin to think about the people that we can invite into the process that can help us in any of these areas.
The freedom comes in planning, being able to plan Catherine's days. I don't have to fit into any particular agency program, day program, or sheltered workshop environment or anything like that. We've got the whole world to work with, and anything that's out in the community that we think that Catherine could be involved in, we can try it out. And some things don't work out, some things do. It's nice to have the flexibility and the resources to do that.
And individualized funding is key. It's the direction of the future, says John Lord.
We're trying to consciously shift power and resources to individuals and families. And that certainly that trend is happening in many, many sectors in the disability world. It's really part of a movement for people to have more control over their lives and to be able to participate in the community.
Planning, funding, they're key for a good quality of life, as we've seen. But there's something else which is also critical for a good quality of life, and that is your rights. In Canada, we all have all kinds of rights. For example, we have the right not to be discriminated against because of things like our sex, race, age, or religious beliefs. But there's a law in Ontario that also applies to the rights of people with disabilities who receive long-term care. To help people understand these rights, the OFCP holds workshops like this one throughout the province.
You have the right to have your records kept confidential in accordance with the law.
Participants were introduced to the full range of rights. They learned, for example, that they have the right to be treated in a courteous and respectful manner, and to be free from mental, physical, or financial abuse, that they have the right to be dealt with in a manner that respects their dignity and privacy, and that they have the right to be informed of the laws, rules, and policies affecting their service providers. The highlight of the workshop is always the part where participants choose a specific right, then create a skit to illustrate that right.
Please, could you call WeedPrince for me? I want to buy a new hat.
No, Don, I can't.
Why?
Because you've got an appointment today and you don't need another hat. You've got to.
This is really important.
Well, it may be to you, but this appointment is more important.
When?
Today.
Where?
You'll find out when you get there.
The two rights that were ignored were recognition of Don's individuality and his right to information about his services. The participants then play the scene another way.
Hi, Don. I'm here for your 1:30 booking.
Please, could you call WeedPrince for me? I want to buy a new hat.
Your dentist appointment is in about an hour from now, so about 2:30, 2:45. Am I right in saying that you would want to go buy your hat instead of going to the dentist?
Yes.
Okay.
One of the key facets of the rights is having information so that the consumer can make decisions based on that information at all times.
In the second version of the skit, the attendant gives Don the information he needs to make a choice. He has a dentist appointment. He can cancel it and go buy the hat. Or he can forego buying the hat and keep the appointment. Or try to squeeze in both. He chooses to buy the hat. The attendant makes no judgment about Don's decision.
He wants to go buy a cowboy hat. And I say, what? You want to buy a cowboy hat? Well, that's ridiculous. You should wear a ball cap. I've just, completely disrespected his right to individuality because Don likes to wear cowboy hats.
We all have our personal values, likes and dislikes, and our own ways of doing things. How we look, for instance, is our public identity. Most of us assume it automatically. But a person with a disability often has to ask for assistance. A service provider must respect that and not pass judgment on those choices. They have an obligation to accommodate the legitimate preferences of the people they provide services to. More detailed information on the rights of people with a disability who receive services is available from the OFCP. It's a good feeling to know that there are specific things you can do to create the quality of life you desire, and that there are people, organizations, and laws to help you. But what if you're the parent of a child with a disability, and you're concerned about what will happen to your son or daughter in the years to come when you're gone? That is why Stan is concentrating on ensuring that Catherine has a strong support circle to look after her best interests when he no longer can. But there's another important consideration, and that is who will pay for your child's care in the future. As we've seen, individualized funding is not a sure thing at this time. So what should you do? That was the question on Ted and Joyce Gitting's minds when they met with Graham Treby. He's a financial planner who specializes in estate planning for people with special needs.
And the reason we wanted to talk to you is to find out how we might be able to provide financially for Gregory without affecting any of the government monies that he currently gets as a disabled person.
Legally, he's only entitled or only allowed to have $5,000 of liquid assets and still maintain the Ontario Disability Support Program funding. So a lot of the questions I'm going to ask about are directly related to making sure that inadvertently money doesn't end up in his hands that will disqualify him from those programs. So first of all, do you have a will?
Graham has a number of important questions. Are they taking advantage of the disability tax credits on their income tax? Who is the beneficiary of their life insurance policies, their RRSPs, and so on? And has any family member designated Gregory directly in their wills? If so, this could cause him to lose his government benefits.
However, in fact, if we do present money to our children with special needs, that will quite likely disqualify them from the Ontario government's support programs. The support program is not only just a monthly check, which is like a pension for him, but it also involves a dental card and a drug card and other government services and programs that are really probably much more valuable to your son than the actual check that he's receiving. Okay, and that's what we're trying to protect. The only way we can really do that in terms of protecting our children is currently by the use of a trust agreement called the Henson Trust. When you pass on, you put money into this specially formulated trust, and those funds are used at the absolute and sole and unfettered discretion of the trustees that you've assigned. The trustees use that money to enhance his quality of life for things like vacations and warm winter clothing and TV set for his room and so on.
This trust came into being in 1989 and is considered to be the cornerstone of planning for people with special needs.
It's not just enough to set up a will and put a trust in it. You have to make sure there is money available after you're gone to fund that trust, to make sure that there is money available to be used for the benefit of the child with a special need.
There are 3 ways to do this, Graham says. The first is by setting aside a specific amount of money every month and putting it into an investment program. The second is to allocate a portion of your estate to the Henson Trust. And the third and most economical way is to use an insurance program which can provide an ongoing fixed sum of money to the trust after you're gone. Whatever choice you make, it's important to find an expert in the special needs field to help you. Planning for a child with a disability has many unique problems that not all professionals are familiar with. And you never need to be on your own. The OFCP will be there to provide the ongoing support you need as you need it. It's part of the long-term planning program the OFCP has launched. It includes assistance monitoring the activities of the trustees chosen by parents to ensure continuity in their son or daughter's quality of life.
So an overseer to watch and to monitor and to guide and to assist the trustees that we as parents appoint to manage the funds for our children.
This has been a brief overview, a kind of guide to help you achieve the quality of life you desire. Every part is interconnected, and what you do today determines your quality of life tomorrow. It's a lifelong journey, and the OFCP is there to support you.